And right between my eyes is a piece of copper about the size of a penny, and it is stuck in the skull right between my eyes. My kids don't have phones, and they don't have video games. Movie night is a thing. And I thought, man, what if I blew myself up? And then I was like, I blew myself up. But it's so fast, your brain doesn't register. I don't like radiation, because you can be cooking and you don't even know it. And if we just put lithium in the water and everybody's drinking water, the crime would fall through the floor. I don't know why we don't.
Why?
You don't know about lithium?
No. Give us a lithium masterclass.
The way you live, shooting guns and blowing stuff up, your life philosophy, and listening to poetry in the morning, and reading, and working out first thing in the morning, seeing how your kids are showing us the cool shit they built and whatnot, and it's like that was a goal.
But the really pleasant surprise that I did not anticipate today was how philosophical today became.
Matt Barnett, welcome to the podcast. How I even begin to introduce you after 8 hours of us being on your property, getting driven around in a tank by your 15-year-old son, using your patented explosives called Bonneti, from, how you built this warehouse that we're in right now that has a car you bought yourself after you worked with MrBeast down there, and then designing the room where, the light comes in and you read books about World War II. How would you explain who you are and what you do?
I'm a little boy that grew up. I had a dad that spent a lot of time with me, telling me stories about history and science fiction. And my dad just took a lot of time with me to show me a lot of different things about life. He showed me how to use cameras to a degree. He would take me on picnics, and he'd tell stories about historical events. And one day he said, hey, I'm going to show you something I used to do as a kid. He said, I'm going to show you how to make gunpowder. I was 7 years old. And we were sitting at the kitchen table, and he measured out saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal, and he pulverized them, then he mixed them together, and he said, this is now gunpowder. And we went outside, and we made like a little rocket thing with it, and that locked. Of all the things he showed me, that I locked onto that, and when I did, he just supported it. So I'm just a product of a man who spent quality time with his son and just nurtured him in the way that he would go. That I'm just trying to do the same. I've built a successful life, and it's continuing, and I'm by no means at the end of it. I have a lot more I want to do, but now the most important thing is I have children, and it's really fascinating to now it's come full circle, and it's time to pass that torch, and it feels really good.
And as we've been hanging out with you today on your property, you have multiple ways you're teaching people or making money from explosives or whatever it is. And you told us a story about a mentor or a man you met when you were around 26. He did a propane, or was it?
Oh, you're talking about when I was 15.
15.
He sold porta potties.
Well, at first he just sucked septic tanks. Yeah. Yeah, so that guy, before that, my mom is old school, tough, hardcore, John Wayne, but female, right? It's got legs and an asshole, she'll kill it. And I grew up watching all that. She's hard as nails. And she'd call me out. We got to go build a fence. We got to go do this. And she'd tell me, she's like, you're pitiful. You can't work. You need to learn how to work. And when it's your mother, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's not a lack of respect. It's just a familiarity. So you get away with some stuff, right? Well, we had a family friend. His name was John Botla. And John Botla is a whole nother story all in itself. But long story short, he'd fallen on some hard times, and he had a septic company. He had an old dilapidated pump truck with a vacuum tank on the back, and he would drive around, dig up people's septic tanks and pump them out when they got too full. And he always needed a hand. And she asked him, she said, hey, Matt needs to learn how to work. And my dad had a job where he was out of town most of the week. He was gone from Sunday until Thursday. And then the other time he was there, he had a job like most people, from 8 to 5, and so he's gone. And Mom was like, you need to go work with John. So John said, hey, he can come with me, and you can start digging these septic tanks. I'll teach you how to use this stuff. And John showed me an air chuck hookup deal, and I didn't know how to hook it up at all. And he started with that. Then he showed me how to drive a stick shift truck, and that was embarrassing because I goofed that up all over the place. But John taught me manual labor as he went through his trials and tribulations. And at one point, that guy was living in a tent. And I mean a little pup tent on the back of a flatbed trailer on someone else's land. And I would go out there and shake that tent 7 o'clock in the morning, and we'd jump in that old dumpy truck of his, and we would drive and do these septic tanks, and I'd get $5 an hour, far below minimum wage even at that time. And we'd work 14-hour days. And he would hold my legs and lower me down in these septic tanks, and because he dropped a tool in there or something. And I said, John, this looks awful, because he got one leg on each side of him, and he starts laughing. Well, he lost his strength. And so I'm going even further in this septic pit. Just crap everywhere, right? And then I get the tool. I'm like, I got it. Get me out of here. And then he starts laughing, because he's laughing about how it looks. And he just backed up and just drugged me up the side of the septic tank, ripped my arm open. And that's the last place you want your arm ripped open. But I put peroxide on it, got okay. But it was that kind of duo, out there in the nitty-gritty 105, 110 degree summers, digging up septic tanks. But that man had an attitude that when you went to work, it was an adventure. I remember one time he said, we're going to work, bring your goggles and spear gun. I'm like, oh, dear God, what am I going to do with a spear gun and goggles in a septic business? He said, no, we're going to go to this chicken plant that has porta cans, and we're going to service them. We're going to drop the trailer, and we're going to the San Marcos River. And you're going to get us some fish. And, I don't know the rules anymore. I'm pretty sure statute of limitations run out on this about 30 years ago. But we went down there and went spearfishing, and it was an adventure. And we were down there sleeping on a park bench, and then we got the word that a storm had hit Columbus, and the city septic thing was overflowing, and they needed somebody to come pump it out immediately. And so we came in to rescue the place, and no sleep, tired as can be, and loving life. And then later, as things would unfold, he just kept getting opportunities and taking them. He always said yes. And, he became a multimillionaire. I mean, he is a multimillionaire today, and he's, 60-something years old. And he's spending more time with his grandkids, and he's trying to do the things he really enjoys. He's had a hard life on his body. He used his body a lot. But that man taught me some things. Two men. One was a tattoo artist in California, and we were doing some bomb work, and there were sea turtles going to the beach, so we shut everything down. And I asked him, I said, what's advice you have for me? He said, whatever you do, you go all the way. He said, there's no alternative. You go all the way. And when I asked John about that, John said, don't be afraid. He said, just go. Don't be, because what about this and what about that? And because everybody growing up, when I told them I wanted to do explosives, they said, oh, you need dynamite. Like, well, I need a hole in my head. You don't need to be messing with that stuff. A lot of people were against it. My dad was for it. My mom and dad cautiously were for it. But nobody else was. But John said, go for it. And so I took that advice. I was like, that's the way it'll be. I'm going to be an explosive man, and I'm not going to be afraid. And so I'm in a small community. The federal government is something that they're like, oh, no, they're going to kick your door in. A black helicopter's going to come pick you up. Well, you go online, and there's a form for a license. And if you're getting the license to do legitimate work, get the license and do it properly and build a legitimate business. I mean, I didn't have a notion like, man, I want to rob banks. It wasn't like that. I just wanted to make a living working with explosives. And John gave me the foundation I needed for that.
I'm curious. I want to ask this before we go into the story a little deeper. What's your piece of advice? I mean, you got advice from both those guys through your life and where you're at now. If you had one thing that you were going to say to kind of pass it on, what would you say?
Well, I don't know that my advice is for everybody. I think if you were in an audience of 1,000 people, there might be 2 or 3 in there that this would land right. Even though it's true for everyone, not everyone's going to do it. Mm-hmm. But my advice would be is if you're one of those people and you're called to something, so many people out there just don't know. I run into that all the time, and it's nobody's fault. It's just they don't know. But there's some people out there, they know. They know, and I knew. And I would say that if you're one of those people and you know you're going to be an actor, you're going to be a primo landscaper, whatever it is, understand that time is a joke. You're already the doctor, okay? And I thought of this when I was a kid. I was like, a brain surgeon today once was a little child. But if we know what he is today, looking back, that's when he was a child brain doctor, right? So I said in my mind, I'm already the explosive man. I'm just going through the steps, you know. And when I hated school, and so when I was in school studying chemistry at Texas A&M, I wasn't the greatest student. It was difficult for me, and there were days where you want to give up, you know. But I said, nope. You already have passed these exams. You already have achieved these things. You already have been laid to rest one day. But this is your story, and you're just in a piece of it. And somehow, worked for me. Might not work for everybody, but I believe it's possible for everybody. It will solidify in you your reality. Because you know you already are that thing. You are an oak tree, but at this stage, you're just a acorn. But an acorn ain't going to turn into a coconut. Okay, so you're going to be an oak tree one day. So if you have a calling, whoever you are out there, if you have a calling and you know it in your heart, and believe me, you're going to meet opposition. And if you ain't meeting opposition, you ain't doing it right. I mean, you're going to meet it from your family. You're going to meet it from your friends. You're going to meet it from timing. You're going to meet it from everything. But if you know what you're called to do, just understand you already are. You're just in that growth pattern. And there are going to be wildfires, and there's going to be floods and storms, and there's going to be days where it looks impossible. Thank God. Because if it didn't look impossible, your story would suck. Nobody wants to watch the hero movie where he wakes up and he wins 47 times through until he wins the big one at the end. I'm not watching that show. So you will be encountered by those dark nights, and it just doesn't make sense. But rest assured, when you're having those, it's because you're on the right path. So that'd be my advice. Just understand that you already are what you're becoming. And then somehow that shifts your reality and you go that way. That'd be my advice.
I love that advice. And there's so many people trying to teach that, but I feel like they also can't articulate it in the way that you just did. And one thing I'm curious about is your philosophy on how you're imparting that knowledge to your kids. Like your philosophy on raising children, because you had John and this other guy who instilled this knowledge into you that you took and you ran with it and you created all this from it. How are you transmitting that down to your children and your philosophy for having them live the type of values that you want them to have?
Well, first off, the other guy's name was Steve Hendricks.
Steve Hendricks.
In case he watches this, I want to know that I'm giving him credit because I really appreciate
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, he has a tattoo shop over in what's that in California? It's a coastal town, real cold. Dang it,
Monterey.
Right on Monterey. So Gold Coast Tattoo, Monterey. So anyway, how I do that with my kids is pretty simple. I leave them alone. With the littlest one, John Nathaniel, he's 4 years old. We were out in West Texas, and he's butt naked all the time. That kid ain't got a tan line. He looks like one of these little Ewoks on Star Wars, you know. So one thing, he runs around in West Texas butt naked, and I mean butt naked. There's no even moccasins on his feet, and he gets thorns and splinters. He learns. We dig them out, and then he'll be rolling this big rock, and he'll roll that sucker right on his foot and cry. Well, he learned. Now I'm not going to let him get next to the 100-foot cliff, and I'm not going to let him run up to the giant cactus, you know, and I'm going to keep him from the rattlesnake a little ways, but I'm going to let him get pinched. I'm going to let him bleed a little bit. I'm going to let him have these things happen. My daughter, Sarah, wiggle worm. You know, I tell her, sit still in your chair, and she keeps squiggling around, and then the chair falls over, and she busts herself and crying. I don't run over there, oh, baby, are you okay? I can tell she's fine. Did you learn your lesson? Sit still in the damn chair, because that's what's going to happen. Now, you can go too far with it. We were in Telluride, Colorado once, and we were doing a hike up there by the big waterfall at the end of the town, and I heard her light up screaming and whining, and I said, oh, quit your bitching, you know, get back on the trail. Well, she had fallen like 20 feet down this thing, and it was tough. And so I did. I went down there, I was like, oh, this is real, because she cries wolf all the time, you know. But she's tough as nails. And Max, he really interested in his engineering stuff. And I don't understand that. I'm not a technologically, savvy guy. And so I give him the tools to work with, and I show him how to learn, and then I cut him loose. And I observe. A lot like my father did. My father knew how to make gunpowder, but once I started making detonators and high explosives, it was out of his realm already. So my parents bought me dynamite when I was 14 years old. And they didn't know how to buy dynamite. I had to do the research, figure out who to call, what to say. And so for Christmas, 14 years old, I got a 50-pound case of dynamite. But they didn't just say, here's some dynamite, have fun. Mm-hmm. My dad was like, look, this is your dynamite, but we do this together. And he kind of learned with me.
Right.
Because he didn't know. Actually, I knew more. And so I'm doing that with my sons. And with Kelly, you know, I just bought my wife an airplane at this last Christmas because she got her pilot's license. And so we bought this little Cessna 150, just great little fun training plane. Well, she's been taking all the kids up and going with it. And Kelly has a real aptitude for that. So how I do that is I find out, you know, Kelly's at the point where he's really honing in on it. Mac's a little behind, and the other two, they're still figuring it out. But that direction that they go, it gets scary when it's an airplane.
Yeah.
Because that's not rolling a rock on your toe.
Yeah.
You know, so he's doing that with a paid instructor. It's not just with my wife. He's going up, we pay the instructor, and he is giving him good training on how to learn this airplane. But it's to do dangerous things slowly, little at a time, cautiously, and put thought to it. Because one day they're going to be in the world. One day they're going to be out there running on their own, and they got to be able to perform, you know, in all these different ways, and they have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So that's that's how I'm doing it with them.
Does your wife share the same philosophy of letting them get banged up a little bit from time to time to learn the lesson? Because a lot of times, you know, the women are the softer, more nurturing type, which absolutely they should be. And I feel like it's a good balance when the father has a little bit more of that tougher hand and, like, yeah, let them get banged up, let them get scratched up. Obviously with safety and parameters, but that balance I think is so important. And one quote that I've always loved is that a good mother will raise, especially for if they're raising a boy, a good mother will raise a good boy, and a good father will raise a good man. Mm. And I guess the same could be for raising a girl as well. But does she share that same philosophy, or do you guys find that you kind of like add in sometimes?
No. If anything, my wife is very strong, and she expects a lot from the kids, you know, so now she's nurturing and tender and does love them, but I'm more of the one to give them the hugs and, you know, sit and have a tender moment, though she does too. But we both agree that we're raising men and women, and that's just how we feel, you know. So we really are lined up well on our beliefs of raising the children, which is a lot of hands off, actually. You know, they're, in fact, all my friends, they laugh and they said, we enjoy watching your feral children.
Do you have people I don't know, friends or people that have been customers, or you just run into that, you know, say shit like that, feral children, and then you look at their children and you're like, those are actually feral children, stuck inside, not, you know, interacting with nature, not self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Or just even out in society.
Well, it's very common. What I've noticed about children is very few children know how to do something steadily and long-term and uninterrupted. And when I was a kid making gunpowder as a child, you didn't just do that for 5 minutes. I mean, it's a process. You prepare this, and this, you put it together. You know, there's a whole step of processes to making good black powder, right? But I knew what was at the end of the line. I knew the result. And so my children are learning that. You know, Kelly, you saw him down there. He said he's working on something in the woods, weeks long. I don't know if he's building a cabin in the woods. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I don't want to go look until he's ready to show me. But what I have noticed about children in general is they are so far away from being able to build a fire. Like, go in the woods and build a fire. Mm-hmm. They just throw some logs together and think that's how it works. It's like, no, there's a thing called kindling. And you need to break these sticks, and you need to take time to stack it just right. And then you need a little bit bigger wood, and then you need processes. Maybe that's the word. They lack the understanding of processes because so many of them are in that thing right there, and everything is at the push of a button. It's just pure, straight sugar for the brain. Mm-hmm. There's no protein for the brain. My kids don't have phones, and they don't have video games, and movie night is a thing. Like, we pop popcorn, and we love it. We sit down as a family, and we watch a movie. But after that, the next day, they're tending to the chickens. They're tending to something with the cows with my mom, feeding them hay, you know, and then they're doing their schoolwork as we homeschool. And then they have their chores, you know, they're cleaning stuff. And then they have their projects. things that they work on, but they're tangible things. They're not, just on a computer. Like Max, he goes on the computer to write a program for his 3D printer, and Kelly, he's building things or going to fly an airplane, and Sarah is studying dance, and so she takes it serious. Like, she practices that dance. It's really neat to see somebody that little spin on their toes. And Gina's got John Nathaniel in ballet too, which is kind of funny. I joke, I'm like, oh, you got him in this twinkle toe deal, but I support it 100% because he's 4 years old. He's running around with the girls, but he's learning discipline. He's learning form. He's learning control, and it's great.
Yeah, dance is just like martial arts.
Exactly. So I love it, and that's what I would say to parents. It's like, take stock in what you're creating, because there's not going to come a day where all of a sudden a switch turns and they're able to do methodic processes and critically think and produce things if they haven't been brought up that way. Yeah. They're going to become a lost person that's 40 years old going, what the hell? And honestly, it's not their fault. I mean, if you want to worry the blame game, it's not, because nobody took them like my dad took me and just spent time talking, spending time. What are you interested in? Let me show you this. Let me tell you a story. Let me water and fertilize that brilliant mind that a child has and cultivate it. And then something's going to bloom and they're going to go, I want to go that way. And then when they do, you help them do it the right way. You want to blow stuff up? There's a legal and right way to do that. There's a wrong way to do it too. So that's why you need guidance.
Exactly. And that's one of the main things you teach here on this property is, how to blow things up safely and properly and not fuck yourself up.
Yeah, because you can. Yeah, you can. I had an incident. People always talk. They're like, "Hey, that guy's got all his fingers." But I've got my story. When I was 14 years old, I started dabbling in a little more complicated chemistry. And when you make explosives, they're dangerous enough. But when you make blasting caps, initiators, you got high explosives, low explosives. With high explosives, you got primary, secondary. The primary, that's the sensitive stuff. That's 100 times more dangerous than working with just explosives. Well, I'd made some primary explosive, and I was going to make some detonators for my explosives. I had dynamite. Blasting caps were expensive. Remember, I'm only making $5 an hour sucking shit. So you might want to make some detonators when they're $7 a piece. So, funny story, kind of. I was at school, and I go up and I ask this girl out to a dance. And she's like, no. Bam! Shot me down, burn, crash right there, right? When I go home that day, I'm kind of bummed out, and I was like, oh, I need to load those detonators. I had made that compound. So I'm loading up the cap, and it was a copper tube, and it was crimped over. And I ain't telling anybody to do this stuff. This is what you don't do, okay? But I had that cap in my left hand, and I had put in just a little bit of that material, and I had a paintbrush, wooden handle paintbrush. And when it's wet, pretty much pussycat. But when it's dry, you don't want to push it. And I was sitting there loading that thing, and I had the radio going in my room. And I remember all of a sudden I couldn't hear the radio. Couldn't hear anything. Thought, that's odd. And then there was this weird smell. And I really couldn't see much. It was just like cloudy. And I thought, man, what if I blew myself up? And then I was like, I blew myself up. But it's so fast. It's so fast your brain doesn't register, right? Wow. And so I looked at my hand, and it is just filleted open. And I looked down at my left foot, and blood is pouring on it. And there is just shrapnel wounds in the table, the wooden table. And then about that time, I hear this whistle coming in. And you ever seen that scene in Saving Private Ryan where he goes over the side and everything's quiet and then the whistle comes back? That's real.
Yeah.
And so that whistle comes back, and then I can hear the radio again. And I go in the bathroom, and right between my eyes is a piece of copper about the size of a penny, and it is stuck in the skull right between my eyes. Yeah. Well, I freak out. I grab it and I pull, and it ain't coming out. And then I freak out and I yank it out. Well, head wounds, they bleed like a stuck pig, so blood is just going everywhere. My dad comes around the corner, and he just looks. He goes, "Yeah, he blew himself up." And I'll get the car fired up, and I'm in there trying to wash this away. The fascinating thing was I was able to see my bones and my ligaments in my fingers, And I'm like, and the first thought that hit me was, man, that stuff's real. Because when you're a kid, you see this stuff in a classroom, but it's on paper. It's that's you. You go shoot a deer and gut that thing, you get to understand, like, there are real parts to this, and that's you too, you know? And so it's all sinking in, the reality and the gravity of the situation. And I get to the emergency room, and I'm like, crap, I can't tell them I'm making detonators. I'm like, oh, I had a reloading accident, and the press blew up, you know, and all this stuff. Well, when I had the plastic surgery a couple days later, the doctor goes, this looks just like a blasting cap wound, you know, and I was like, yeah, that's right, that's what it was, you know. And he knew. And I remember the next day, I had my hand all bandaged up, and I had some of that compound left, and I went to blow it up. And my mom caught me, and she goes, what the hell are you doing? I said, well, I'm getting rid of it. She goes, you're still doing it? I said, Mom, I said, it's what I do. And I thought about, of all people, because I don't drink, I don't play sports. There's a lot of things I'm just not, right? I'm not a sportsman at all. But I thought of Michael Jordan. And I thought to myself, you know, if Michael Jordan had jumped up to make a hoop and landed and twisted his ankle really bad and said, I'm done with that, you'd never know his name. And I said, I don't know where I'm headed, but chalk this down as one hell of a lesson and keep moving. Otherwise, it was lost. But if not, it's a wonderful investment, because you got the get out of jail free ticket. You know what I mean? And I got it. And so I ran with it. And I made a business of it, you know, as I could. My parents could have said, no more of this, you know, and blah, blah, blah. But we didn't do that.
What exactly happened that made it go off? Like, what did you do wrong?
The pressure.
It was the pressure.
Yeah, and I wasn't thinking. I'd just been downed by that girl, you know, and so my mind is somewhere else, and I was pushing on it. And it was about that much. That's all it takes. Yeah. Yeah. Look, maybe a little friction in there. It just, boom, that's all it took. You blew stuff up today, so you see how quick that is. Yeah. Well, imagine you're just living your life, and that goes off next to you. You're not even aware of it. And so when somebody gets blown up and the explosion kills them, it sounds awful, but the truth is they never knew it. Yeah. They were walking, and then they're
probably
just
the fastest, most painless way to go.
Oh, yeah.
If you're like actually in the explosion, not the shrapnel, but actually getting exploded.
You don't feel a thing.
Instant.
It was an hour later, and I said, this woman came in with these shots, and I'm laying there, and she's like, give these shots in your butt, and I was like, what's that for? She goes, for the pain. I said, I don't really feel any pain. About that time, I started feeling this throbbing, getting louder and louder. I'm like, give me the shot. And I put my butt out there, you know. It's funny you say that about the shrapnel. We were changing the track on a skid steer. We were using a sledgehammer on this piece of steel. And my employee, he hit that thing, and a piece of that steel shot off red hot right into my arm.
Oh, shit.
And I went, oh, and I felt that immediately and burned. Went and got it x-rayed. I still got it in there. It's about the size of a .22 bullet. Went right into my bicep. And when you put a big old strong magnet on it, my arm goes, comes up. That I felt. The explosion, no.
What was one of the first jobs you got for the entertainment industry? I mean, you've been working with explosives with, you know, the government and whatnot, but like, when was the first time someone approached you? You're like, oh, this is interesting, like a movie or entertainment. And can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, there are some I can certainly talk about. The first ones were YouTube. I would say the first ones were YouTube. There were people that had found it, and then we're talking 15, 17 years ago.
YouTube's just getting going.
YouTube's just getting going, and there were kids a lot younger than me that did not have access to this stuff, and one of them was called Gizmo Slip. And Gizmo Slip had a really great idea. He would buy the latest gizmo, iPhone, iPad, whatever, and he would show what it would take to destroy it. He'd be like, look, if you drop it from your table, will it be destroyed? And he'd drop it off the table. Oh, it survived. What if it falls off the refrigerator? What if it falls off a 10-story building? That kind of thing. Then one of them he would do nothing to and then give it away to a viewer. And then the one that he dropped a bunch of times, finally we would get rid of it some epic way, right? Mm-hmm. So we put dynamite on it, which the phone went away. I mean, it's still orbiting Earth. Yeah. So, you know, things like that would happen, and I would never charge for that. It's kind of a pay it forward or pay it back, however you want to look at it. People were always good to me. All my friends are dead, except, you know, John and Steve, few people, but most of my friends are dead because when I was 15 to 20 years old, they were 65, 75 years old already. Pet Crawford was a guy that collected firearms, a great mentor. He's dead, you know. These people that taught me these things, you know, passed on. I kind of veered off right there. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
Sometimes I take a track and I'm like, what the hell am I talking about Pet Crawford for? What are we talking about?
Your media, like your first jobs in media.
The helping the people.
Well, you're fine doing stuff for free because you want to pay it forward.
Yeah.
In the beginning, right?
Yeah, and it's nothing. Some kid comes up and like, I want to blow a TV up. I want to blow this up. It's nothing for me to do that. It's colossal for them. They don't have access to that.
Yep.
So if you have something that to someone else is just this ivory tower, but for you it's in your backyard every day, why would you not help them?
Yeah.
Why would you not help them? So I started doing that, and then I got little by little, I moved on up. I remember one time in college, I was late night studying, and they had the student access channel. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, this sucks. And so I contacted them. I'm like, y'all want to do something cool? Come blow stuff up with me. Now, guys, this was before I knew laws. And I had the damn access channel come out and record me doing all kind of shit. And sure enough, it made TV. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And I'm glad I didn't know then what I know now. I was like, good Lord, you can't do that. But I did it. And then somewhere out there, that footage still exists.
What did you do that you should not have done?
Well, I mean, you know, I was a little younger, you know, blowing stuff up. Probably shouldn't have been doing that. You know, a lot of people got pipe bomb stories. And shouldn't be doing that, right? But you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And I didn't have anybody rein me in at the time. We were doing it safely and respectful, but still there's laws to go around all this stuff. And that's what I try to tell the young guys right away. I'm like, look, you can do it all, but here's how you get started. You know, and then it just got a little bit bigger, and then it's funny how things happen all at once. Have you ever been thinking about something, and it's just the things that you like really want really bad, that shit ain't gonna happen. That ain't how you pull it in. It's like you flirt with it, you wink, and then you walk away. You have a little fleeting thought, and then you get back to your life, and lo and behold, best things that ever happened to me are in a porta can. The phone calls and the porta cans have always been the best. I'm in a sweaty ass porta can, and I get a phone call, and this guy goes, "Hey, we saw you helping people on YouTube. Zombie Go Boom, Gizmo Slip, this kind of stuff. We'd like to do a TV show about you, and that we do dirty jobs and big tuna." I'm like, "This is legit. This is Discovery Channel, you know." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then another production company comes in, and they happen to be doing something about a neighbor down the road, and he's like, "Yeah, my neighbor could blow a car up for us." So I blew the car up, and I ran my mouth a little bit. Next thing I know, they're all in my laboratory filming me. And then they proposed a show. And then a third guy out of nowhere says, "Hey, I heard about you from somebody else. I want to do a documentary on you." And I'm like, good Lord. All three at once. Well, I had to pick one. So I picked the Discovery deal. And the other one was like, all right, but that one, other one, them people were crying on the phone. And I felt bad to tell them no. Wow. But the woman was like, "We're not as big as them, but we're going to treat you better." And I was like, I get it, but it's freaking Discovery Channel, and I'm going to go with that. Now, there's a huge chance that your show will never make it.
On Discovery.
Oh, yeah, because they're going to come in with this crew. They're going to do all this preliminary stuff. I call it softening the beach. You got the battleship out there. You shell the shit out before you ever put troops on the beach. Well, they do the same thing in business. They're going to do background checks. They're going to check with their attorneys. They're going to check with your neighbors. They're going to check everything that you ain't a child molester that comes out later and then ruins their show, right? So they do all this stuff. And then one day it just dawned on me. I was like, I really don't care if it makes it or not. And something, a little voice, a little hand that's always been on my shoulder my whole life. That's why it'll happen. And I was just like, quietly, I knew it's going to happen. I don't know where it's going to go, but you're going to be on TV. And sure enough, they greenlit it. They came in like 20, 30 people, mics and what do you want to eat today? It was an unbelievable experience. For 3 months, I had these people living on my farm. And we traveled to Puerto Rico. We went to West Virginia. We went to Georgia and blew stuff up. Wow. And then they were flying me to L.A. to do, talk over. But it was a reality TV show called Fire in the Hole. Came out in 2015. We filmed 8 episodes. They only aired 3 of them. And then they had that presidential switch at Discovery. And he's like, I don't want the old shows and Big Swords or something was at the same time. They killed all that crap. But whatever, doesn't matter. The best experience out of the whole thing, and I know I'm off a little bit, but it's worth telling, is they used to send a limo to pick me up here at the farm. and fly me to L.A., and a limo would pick me up and take me to a movie set and prop me up, and they would do interviews, right? And if I said I wanted In-N-Out burger, and I feel sorry for them poor bastards over there because they eat it all the time, but I don't get it. I said, I want some In-N-Out burger. They made everybody on set eat it, and you could hear them all groan. And I was like, you don't have to make everybody eat that. And they're like, no, whatever you want. That's what we're all eating. Good Lord. Sorry, guys. So we all ate In-N-Out burger. And they flew me to L.A., I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times, something like that. And it was cool because I started getting noticed in airports. I'd walk through the airport and a guy come on, you on Discovery Channel? And get my autograph. And I'd be at a gas station on Interstate 10 in the middle of nowhere and some guy would spot me. And in the show, look, reality TV show ain't real, okay? It's just not. They got to do stuff. They got to soup it up. Now, the truth is far better than a lie. But a lot of my truths, I can't tell. At least not yet. Maybe one day when I'm a real old fart, I'll tell some good damn stories and buckle in.
When you're that old, you'll be willing to break the NDAs.
Oh, man, we're going to bust it out. But, no, I'm just kidding. I ain't going to let it out. But you know, there's personal stories, too, that are worth telling, but not yet. So anyway, I come back in a limo. The limo was driving me back to the farm, and I saw my family on the way in an old pickup truck to gather hay off a field. My mom and dad are driving. My wife and kids are in the back of the truck, and they're going to grab hay off the pasture. And I told the limo driver, I was like, stop right here. So we stopped, and I got out of a limo. I crawled in the back of a truck, and I went out to a field and I hauled hay. And that was the neatest thing, to go from being a guy that they picked up in a limo, flew you first class to something, and they put you up, and then everybody got to eat whatever you want to eat. And then the next thing is you're right back in the back of a truck out in a farm field picking up hay. That was a wonderful experience to see both sides of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So they lived on your farm.
Well, they would stay in town at the local hotels, and then by 7:30 in the morning, they had a camper out there on the farm, and they'd move in and start setting it up every day.
That's wild.
And what kind of stuff were they filming?
So they at first they wanted to follow what I do, and to give the industry its credit, what I do takes a lot more time than they have. And so they wanted to go back and recreate some stories that actually happened to me.
Okay.
One of the stories did happen. We did find a bomb on a beach, and we did blow it up right there, and there was some interaction with the public. But we didn't drive it through town, San Juan, Puerto Rico, like we did in the show. We didn't do that. You ain't going to throw a bomb in the back of a truck and drive through San Juan, Puerto Rico. That just ain't going to happen, okay? So there was some embellishments there. But for the most part, we tried to track things that I did, and they embellished it a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. But, you know, it takes a long time to invent some things. And they need a show coming out I was paid every 2 weeks, you know, and you got to have something out.
Right.
So
they can't just sit there and wait for you to get a phone call like, hey, we found a bomb somewhere, and we need you to come do what you do best. So
I know.
Got to fabricate a little bit.
That's
TV, though.
Yeah.
Is it still online? Can you go?
I think you can go on Amazon and get it. I have the DVD set somewhere, but, you know, maybe I'll watch it one day. I just kind of like built my whole business around it, named a kid after it, Kelly's Heroes, that movie.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Clint Eastwood said that's the one he watches. He goes, but the other movies I was in, I don't watch them. And I just don't. I like it. I'm glad we did it, and kudos to them for what they did, but I haven't watched it in a long time.
So speaking of you getting called out to things because you're the expert, when we first started talking and kind of planning this day out on your property and this podcast, there was a tragedy that had happened in, was it Tennessee?
Yeah.
And you were kind of the go-to guy that they called to inspect that or to see what was going on?
Well,
was that what happened? Or I'm just really curious the story, or if you know anything else about what had happened there that you're willing to share.
Not at all, and I definitely want to set the record straight on that because look, man, I know what I know, and I know my limitations, okay?
Yeah.
I know explosives, okay, and there's some things I know about them. But CNN contacted me to talk about explosive plants, how they're set up, and just some general stuff because CNN called me right after it happened. Well, I just found out. So how do I know what happened?
Yeah.
You know,
like, what happened there? You're like, I don't know.
Through it or what? But I could tell you some basic things, how a plant is laid out for safety, what they produce, blah, blah, because I knew these people. I knew of them, you know, I did deal direct with a couple of them. But it was really a somber day.
Yeah.
Because 16 people ultimately lost their lives that day, and it hit hard, and it's emotional thing because when you work with this stuff, you're always working with the dragon. you know, and when it gobbles you up, it's not so much you, it's your family that gets a phone call.
Yep.
It's them that feels the table shake and then look up and know that probably was you. And we know you were alive 5 minutes ago, but are you now? You know what I mean? And so my heart just melted and went out to the families. And you know what? It really goes out to the people that run that company too, because they are in a level of stress. I told you I like working out in the mornings, listening to Stoic poetry.
Yeah.
I hope, you know, I don't know what caused it. I don't know. And I'm not pointing fingers or anything because I don't know. I'd be a jackass if I did, if I was pointing fingers, because I don't know. But the burden they bear, no matter the reason, is one you just never get over. And it doesn't matter if it was, you know, somebody else's fault or whatever. That is such a somber thing. I mean, I've recently gone through some, you know, legal stuff. When you do business, man, you're going to have it. You're asking for difficulty. You're not here because it's easy, right? And I've had things that keep me up some hard nights, man, hard nights, where you learn the meaning of those poems when they talk about trusting yourself and staying the course. But it really goes out to those people. And so when CNN called me, I just said, hey, explosive plants are generally set up this way, and so that if something blows up here, it doesn't spread across the property. And it didn't. They had one event blow up, and the initial report was it was a lot. But that's all they did. They didn't call me to inspect anything. I'm not like some Superman in the explosive world. And I certainly don't want to piss off the guys out there who are the true explosive, real guru experts. You know, I'm not ever going to claim to be that. But if you want to talk about some basic explosive stuff, I'll talk with you.
Nice. So I guess that does bear the question then, like, how are plants set up for safety so that things like this, like these terrible atrocities, I guess, don't come to be?
Yeah, it's so when you work with radiation, I worked a little while in the oil and gas industry as a wireline engineer, and when you have a radioactive source, you protect yourself with time, distance, and shielding. So time on target, very little. You don't want to be there long. Distance, get away from it. And shielding, put something between you and it. Okay? Now, I don't like radiation because it can be cooking and you don't even know it. Thank God, at least the explosives, if you're still here, it didn't go, right? So, but with explosives, when you set up a plant, you would do the same thing. You would limit the amount of time that any one person is near the material. Okay. That's got to be functional specific. Like they're there because they're performing a function and they're gone. They're not on their cell phone twiddling while something's mixing, right? Now, if they have to be there to manage it, you got to be there to manage it. That's all there is, but you wouldn't have somebody there any more than you have to be. Distance, you spread everything out. The storage depot is very far away from a processing plant that's very far away from where it's put into a device, and it's very far away from where it's packaged. Okay, these things are spread out.
Yeah, I noticed all your storage containers for your explosives are all pretty, like those big white boxes are all pretty far apart.
Yes, that's actually to a code put out by the federal government for citing a magazine. And so then there's shielding, and oftentimes that's an earthen berm. It's concrete barricades with dirt in between it. It's something to stop debris and high-speed particles from penetrating and going into the next building. So you really use the same time-distance shielding. Time on a process as little as possible, spread things out, and then barricade things so they're protected. And that's how every explosive plant, from the first powder mill on the Brandywine with Thomas Jefferson to make our own powder, was set up. I mean, with DuPont. It was DuPont was our gunpowder manufacturer for the Revolutionary War. And Jefferson and all those guys were like, hey, man, you can make some pretty good powder. So they set up this mill on the Brandywine. And I'm sure it was a little less safe back then, but same principle, spread it out.
Yeah, don't blow shit up. I'm curious, tell everybody what room we're sitting in right now. Because we haven't even told them what we're doing in this room and what this room is.
Well, I like to shoot. And I've acquired a lot of firearms over the years.
I'd say that's an understatement.
Well, it actually is, because for all the folks in Colorado County, this is a pitiful little collection. Believe it or not, people just don't get it. I grew up going to people's houses and guns falling out the damn refrigerator and behind the couch and everywhere else. We just got guns down here. I mean, everywhere. You look at the average, it says there's so many guns per person in the United States. Well, that's condensed in these southern states. They hold the sharehold of it, okay? I mean, I do have a few. I want to say I got one friend that's got 200. Actually, I've got multiple friends that have 200 plus firearms. I don't know how many guns I've got.
Do you
really don't.
Do you have any favorite guns?
Yeah,
from like your top 3 that you just love.
Yeah, I do. I've just acquired these things over the years, and that German Luger over there was passed down from my grandfather to my dad, and it's got the date of his wedding on the inside of the grip, and then it has the date of my wedding on the inside of it, and then when my first son gets married, he'll get his date inscribed in there, and then he can keep the tradition going.
Wow!
So this 9mm Parabellum Luger 1921. It's actually pre-Nazi Germany, but the magazine we took and had a guy take a look at it. This is some SS magazine. I think it's got a little swastika or something on it in there. So it's got a little bit of history with it. I'm not really sure if it was a police gun. My grandfather got it because he ran a sawmill, and a guy couldn't pay his debt. And so he offered this as payment. And my grandfather was always a wheeler dealer, and my dad told him, he said, don't get rid of that one. And so he kept it for Dad. And then I would say it was my grandfather's .30 caliber carbine, and simply because of the history it's got. It traveled with him all over the country when he would make his runs, getting silver coins and buying treasures and stuff. That was his little rifle that would ride along with him. And after that, I don't know. I figured that M79 grenade launcher kind of takes the cake, because who doesn't want a thumper?
And then we got a chance to shoot your Tommy gun.
Yeah, and that's owned by my company, so that's not a transferable. But the Tommy gun holds a special place in my heart because of Kelly's Heroes, the movie that I built my business around. I mean, if you watch that movie, it's okay. There's 2 ways to watch that movie: entertainment, and then a business model. If you watch it as a business model, it tells you everything you need to know.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, have you seen the movie?
I can't remember on the top.
It's like 1970.
Okay.
Telly Savalas, Donald Sutherland,
okay,
Don Rickles, and Clint Eastwood. The story goes they're just soldiers fighting a war, right? And there's one evening they're getting shelled. They're at this farm in France somewhere, and Kelly had snuck into the German community near them and taken one of the German officers prisoner. And what these guys wanted to do is they said, look, we're about to get 3 days off the front line. We're going to have a break, okay? We want a town, and in their words, we want a town with hot baths and broads and fine restaurants, okay? So get some fat sausage-chewing wino German over there and bring him in here and interrogate him and find out where the best town is we can go to when we got our 3 days off. So they get this guy over there, and he's opening his briefcase, and there's papers, and he's getting the guy drunk. He's giving him brandy. He's like, get drunk so he'll talk, because he don't want to give up the other Germans. And so in the bottom of this thing is what looks like a lead bar. And he goes, what is this? And he goes, lead bars. And he's like, for what? And he goes, to throw in the water in case I was captured, but it was handcuffed to me, so you got it. And Kelly scratches it, and it's gold. And he gets the guy a little bit drunker, and he's like, Colonel, why don't you tell me about these gold bars? And he goes, they're in a bank. And he's like, yeah, where? And about this time, the shelling is getting heavier, and the other troops are coming in. They're like, hey, Kelly, we got to go. And why are you giving this guy the good brandy? He's like, y'all go on. I'll be there. They're like, German 88s are coming out. We got to get the hell out. He's like, go, I'll catch up. And he keeps talking to this guy. And he says, where are they at? He goes, it's in a bank 30 miles behind lines, German territory. He says, well, how many are there? He goes, 14. He goes, 14 what? He says, 14,000. 14,000 gold bars. And so Kelly's like, shit, we're going to get that gold. So he goes to the guys, and he starts telling, he tells his sergeant, Big Joe, Telly Savalas, he tells him about it, and he's like, cut that shit out. You get these guys thinking about gold, and they're going to go get their head shot off for nothing. And, well, he tells the team about it, and they're all like, hey, we're in. But then they start leaking it. They need a mortar barrage. Well, there's this dude that runs the mortars, but he ain't on time or on target any time. His name's Mulligan. And so they go to him, and they're like, look, we need you to lay down a barrage at this crossroad at this time. And he goes, sure, I need the orders. And he goes, well, that's the thing. There ain't no orders. And he goes, well, I can't do that. And he goes, well, here's the proposition. He gives him one of those gold bars. Okay, got that set. Well, then he's talking to another guy, and he goes, hey, I'm the investor in this. That's crap game, Don Rickles. He goes, I'm going with you. About that time, Donald Sutherland sets up, and in World War II, they portrayed him as a hippie. So he's this hippie tank commander, got 3 Sherman tanks. And he goes, you could use some armor for this mission. So he joins in. And so now you have this motley crew with one goal at the end of the line, and it's robbing a bank behind enemy lines in a state of confusion. And this is where I introduce another great movie called Duck You Sucker. Quentin Tarantino drew a lot from this. Duck You Sucker, and also it has a double name called Fistful of Dynamite. And there's a beautiful scene in there where they're about to blow a bank, and the guy is sitting there and he's taping the dynamite up, and there's a damn revolution going on the street. They're in a coffee shop, and there's like bullets going on and everything, and he goes, "You're gonna blow the bank right now?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "In the middle of this, there's people shooting in the street." He says, "In a state of confusion, a man who knows what he wants stands a good chance of getting it." And that is so damn true. And so if you look at a lot of industries, buddy, they're so damn regulated and convoluted, and everybody fighting for a piece of the pie. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. And there was a TV show called All in the Family, and Carol O'Connor was the character, and he played the general in Kelly's Heroes. And they hear these guys on the radio, and he goes, what's going on? And so he's listening to this, and they're under fire, and he's like, "Where are they at?" And then they said, "Nancy." He goes, "Get me a map around here." He said, "That's 30 miles beyond the line. I didn't know we had a unit over there." And so he's getting wind that they broke through the lines. And finally, he's listening, and one of them comes on the radio and goes, "Kelly, this here's the gravedigger. We're coming up the rear over there." And he goes, "Did you ever hear enthusiasm like that in all your life?" He said, "They even got the damn grave diggers out there." He said, "You're the one supposed to be fighting this war. You don't even know where the hell it is." He said, "It's 30 miles beyond where you thought it was. Get my medals." And so he's running in there to give them medals, but they're trying to rob a bank. Well, at the end of the deal, they get to they have a big shootout in town. There's one tiger tank guarding this bank. And there's this iconic scene where the three of them are walking down this road, and that tiger tank lowers that barrel right on them. And they walk right up to it, and it's German, and they picked the perfect guy to play this German guy. Blonde hair, slice across his face. He gets out, and they go, "Cigarette? No smoking. The fuel is all over the place, you know." And Telly Savalas goes, "Hey, listen, Mac." He said, "About a half an hour, the whole American army is going to be coming down this road, so how about you do yourself a big fat favor, huh? Get the hell out of here." And he goes, "You, the American army?" And Donald Sutherland, the hippie, he goes, "No, baby, we ain't." And Kelly says, "Think of us as a private enterprise operation." And Don Rickles said, he goes, "Hey, before you go talk to him," he said, "make him a deal." He said, "What do you mean make him a deal?" He said, "Maybe he's a Republican. Make him a deal." And so they walk up, and they say, Kelly says, "Do you know what's in that bank?" He says, "There's 14,000 bars of gold in that bank, baby." And you see his eyes get real big. And he says, "And all you have to do to have an equal share of this is turn that turd around and blow a hole in that door." And then it shows that door, and it blows all to hell. And they run in there, and they get the gold, and they split it all up. And Oddball, he buys the damn Sherman. I mean, he buys the Tiger tank from the German and the uniforms. And his guy is looking at him. He goes, his mechanic was Moriarty. He never has any positive waves. He goes, "Oddball, to trade for the uniforms, I can understand." He said, "But to buy this tank, you got to be crazy." He goes, "It's a mother beautiful tank." He says, "It's a piece of junk," you know. But he spent his money on a Tiger tank, which I would have bought the Tiger tank too. Yeah. But in truth, we all know they just would have shot the German and blown the doors open. But the movie was fun because of the unlikely people they pulled to accomplish a goal that was a pretty gray area. You're robbing a bank, but it's a Nazi bank. We can all get behind blowing up the Nazis is all right. You're still robbing a bank, and they probably stole that gold, and it belongs to somebody else. But if we don't think about it that way, if you look at it as, I'm going to put together a team, and I have a goal, and I have a mission, nothing's going to be easy. And Mulligan ain't never going to be on time or our target. And there's going to be people watching you that are rooting for you, but for the wrong reason. But you're going to have that one tight little unit, and you know what you're doing. And when you strike out to do a company, a business, anything, you're going to have some dark days. Dark days where your shit just is falling in on you. And that's when you remember it's an adventure. And when I hit my low moments, man, I remember, I'm like, this is the adventure. This is, there was a scene in Kelly's Heroes where someone got blown up by landmines and they're all sad about their buddies. So you hit those moments, but we're moving on. I remember in one scene of it, the guy's whining to Kelly, "I didn't know we were going to have to carry all this stuff." And he says, why don't you quit your bitching and remember what's at the end of the line? And I tell myself that all the time. Why don't you quit your bitching and remember what's at the end of the line?
What is the adventure you're on right now? Like, you've achieved all these different things, you have your explosive company, but is it your property in West Texas and bringing people out there, or what's that next main adventure and the people you're bringing along to achieve that?
Yeah, well, I'd say so life is a grand adventure.
For sure.
And at the end of it, you go on the best adventure, because we're going to cross over one day, and that's a hell of an adventure. So how this turns out to reach a point where I feel like I am full of life, like I've really lived, that's my adventure. But there's so many side adventures. West Texas is a property that I want to develop, and I'm doing the whole Kelly's Heroes thing. I've got people out there. I've got a ranch manager that runs the physical part of it. He's an ex-Marine, very capable man, and I want to see what his interests are and kind of bring him on with that. And then Kat Silva, she runs Port of Soul, and she is like the ranch manager when it comes to events. And so I'm watching her grow and cultivate and massage that thing. And it truly is an adventure because we don't know where it's going to go. I would love to open that place up for 10 to 12 guests to come out for like a 3-day event where we bring out some entrepreneurial guest speakers. We have some fun challenges using the tank, machine guns and explosives, land navigation, desert survival, the whole bit. And then at night have the chili and the steaks and the campfire and the camaraderie, where people go away from it saying, I got the clear direction. Because here's the thing, you don't know what you don't know. And I take for granted the way I've been brought up. I've had a lot of support. I've had a lot of good people in my life. And I have a hard time understanding that other people don't. But they don't. And to come to a place where people are where they want to be, which is one of the best ways to be successful, is to find a mentor that's where you want to be and reach out to them and talk to them. To find some human being that's in the flesh that has done it, not showing off, but solid, done it, okay? And hang out with them and have them spend quality time with you to just listen to you and then offer encouragement, advice to get where you want to go. I think that would have true value, and that would make me feel like I'm adding value to it. Ultimately, the ultimate value is where are you going with your life and where do you go after? But there's so many things that we tend to skip over. And there's actually a verse in the Bible that says, while exercise is good for the body, the spirit, Christ, is good for the soul, right? But don't neglect the body. And so many people do. They just jump right over it, and they're out of shape, and they're pathetic, and they can't do a push-up, and they can't run a mile, and all these things. And I'm like, there's a lot of things here that while we're on these lofty subjects, we forgot the basics. Yeah. And so I would love to get some people out to West Texas, and, whoever you are, whatever life you come from, whatever your beliefs are, you come out there, and we talk about the basic truths that will lead you to success and encourage people to be the best version of themselves. That would be a great adventure. And what's it going to be? Kat does women's retreats out there, or ladies' retreats. And these ladies, they have a great time. And I have a great time. Kelly Hines is a good buddy of mine. And he also is upcoming. He started K36 Consulting, and he teaches people handgun classes. He is a wonderful instructor. I'm not a great teacher. I'm not. I may be a great promoter, and maybe I encourage. But when it comes down to taking the time to show you the mechanics of something, he has the patience, he has the voice, he's calm, he's confident. Let him do it, And Kat, she knows how to provide. She knows the good food, how to give it that edge that just makes it flow, and you feel like, wow, I'm being taken care of here. This is a home-cooked meal. This is heart and soul being put in this. Let her do it. Let her make the money. The way I look at that out there is I don't want to make a whole bunch of money off them the first 2 events. I want to be making mailbox money from them 15 years from now, and I want to see them be millionaires with whatever they do. So that's an adventure. And I remember being in Boy Scouts. They'd say, going on high adventure. And as a kid, I figured it out. A lot of that stuff ain't adventure. Look, going on a ride in Astroworld, that dates me before they tore that down. Astroworld, that ain't an adventure. An adventure has to have 3 things. And I figured this out as a kid. You have to have a clear goal, number 1. You have to have a very clear obstacle. There's got to be something in the way. And number 3, there has to be a true and clear danger. I don't mean perceived danger. I mean your ass falls off that rock, you're gone. That's an adventure. You have a goal, you have an obstacle, and you have a very clear danger. Blowing up, getting shot, falling, getting eaten by a damn shark in the ocean. something, being at sea with a storm, and you might die, but you might not, and you're going to live a life worth living.
That's similar to the Japanese misogi.
What's that?
You know about that?
No.
In ancient Japan, they had something called the misogi, where the warriors would do this once a year, usually at the end of the year. And the misogi kind of fits into your definition of adventure. And it was some kind of task or feat that you would have to accomplish as a way to like bring in this new year, as like a celebration of the last and preparing yourself for the new year. And one of the rules is it has to have about a 50-50 chance of survival. And so you'd have to do this misogi every year to remember that life is hard, essentially, and to prepare yourself for the difficulty of the year ahead and for battle and for everything else. So it could be something as like standing under a raging waterfall for 12 hours and just having it beat on you. Like that was one that they would do, or getting into shark infested waters and achieving some kind of goal. Like you have to get something from the floor, the seafloor, like something that's extremely difficult with about a 50-50 chance of survival. So yeah, an adventure is exactly how I would call it.
Yeah, that would be an adventure. I like my goal to be, I like to throw a treasure in there.
Yeah.
Like I don't do rock climbing. That's one of the things I don't like. I've done it a little bit in Alaska. I strapped on the ropes and went up some as far as the rock climbers out there, some baby shit, okay? But I don't like it. When I was little, my dad tore down and then rebuilt this oil derrick, 100-foot oil tower, and he wanted to put an observation house and play music up there and watch sunsets. He's eccentric, right? And he'd make me climb up that thing as a kid, a little kid. And he would just I'm not tethered to shit. I'm just climbing this ladder 100 feet in the air, and he's just like this going along with me, and I'm in there. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I'd buy my son dynamite at 14, but thank God they did. But that I think instills a lot of important skill set. But I do some rock climbing and things. If I think there's an Indian cave that nobody's looked in a long time, or if I think there's a treasure up there, I'm like, saddle up, buckaroo, because we're going to ride, because I want to see what's in there. I love the idea of seeing something that nobody's seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I find arrowheads at the creek, and before I touch them, I think the last time, more than likely, the last time that a human touched this was 12,000 years ago, maybe 2,000, maybe 400, I don't know. But when I touch that, it's a direct connection to them. And man, that's cool. That's treasure, finding stuff like that.
You probably find a lot of that in West Texas.
I find a lot right here.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We're sitting on an Indian, probably about 8,000 people lived right here at one time. When we built this shop and the bulldozer scraped the ground, there was burn spots from the fire. In fact, There's a micro desert back here in the woods where they burned so many fires and so hot for so many years that to this day, normal stuff doesn't even grow there. And I asked the guy, I'm like, why is it cactus and rock back here in the middle of this forest? He said, look at the rock chippings. And it's all these chippings of their tools and stuff because they burned. They had fire there forever. And I guess it burned all the seeds up or something. It changed it. It's different. In West Texas, I do find that I found some drawings on the rock. I have found campsites where they their rocks are still sitting there where they broke them away and they're making stuff, and there's old charcoal there.
Wow.
It is still there. In fact, when I find those rocks, I don't touch it so that I can show everybody. Just like I found a mosasaur laying on the ground. The bones are on top of the ground with jaw and teeth and everything. And I let this museum come and dig some of those dinosaurs up. But that one, you ain't touching. Because I want to be able to bring people to it and show it to them laying right on the ground for many years.
Yeah, I want to describe a little bit about this West Texas property because, it's not, based on what a little bit you told us, it's not a typical like retreat center. It's set up in such a cool way. I mean, I want to go out there and check it out. I've been to West Texas a couple times, but the stars out there and how you had everything set up sounds amazing. And just real before you go in is, one thing I truly resonate with what you said is, you just go sit up in the mountains in the desert for an hour, and that's one way you kind of get clarity and reconnected. And I think, that's super important, and that's a place you could definitely do it.
Oh yeah, you can do it. And I'm fortunate enough that there's a creek that runs through there called Terlingua Creek, and so sometimes I have this area, I call it the bathtubs. It's a limestone creek bottom with pools that always has water. And that water's cold because it's touching that rock that goes thousands of feet in the ground, so it's sucking the heat out of it. Okay. And I do go back there, and there's 3 types of terrain there. There's rolling hill with scrubby stuff. Then there's canyons, and you could be in Colorado or New Mexico in there. You can't tell where you're at. And then there's what I call the Gobi Desert, which is just flat. It's like there's more vegetation on this tabletop than back there. Okay. But down in that canyon, you know, and this sounds a little funny, and there may be some people out there that they'd be like, well, I don't know about all that. But, you know, I'll go back there, and, man, I'll strip butt naked. And I'll get in that water. Now, there ain't nobody around. And if I saw somebody, I'll tell them to go and get because my land. They ain't supposed to be there. But I have a 100-foot sheer cliff wall that goes around this thing. I don't want this to come off the wrong way. It's not a brag. But to be butt naked out there the way you were made and to sit in that cold water and just let everything slow down and then get out and go lay on that smooth, warm rock. Oh, man. The sun is shining, and you look at that massive wall of rock. It's big, you know, and there's mountains around. And to know that everything you can see, you own. Temporarily. By the laws of man on their paperwork, you own it. The truth is you don't own nothing. You're passing through. But you, for a time, are a steward of that land. And I don't have the words for what that does to you, and I think that's why I'm drawn to buy more and more land. Yes, I blow things up, and yes, I shoot. But do not make the misconception that I'm some redneck just blowing refrigerators all over the place and shooting every animal that runs, and that ain't me. I have designated areas. We do shoot, and we blow stuff up. But the larger the buffer I can get to keep people away from being hurt, but also to preserve that land, the better. And my goal is a 25 to 30,000 acre ranch. I'm saying it publicly right now. I proclaim it. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm headed. I'm going to own that kind of land one day. And, you know, I'm closing up on 2,000 acres now. And as ranch goes, that's actually pretty small. But that land out there did something to me the first time I saw it. When I was looking at buying land in the West, I went online and I found this place, and I wanted the cheapest land possible. I was going to blow airplanes and buses up for the FBI. That was my goal. I was going to build a business model where you could do a post-blast investigation area. You know, you blow it up, they come out, we clean it all up, and we do it again, right? But when I saw this land, I grew up in Texas my whole life, but when I went west, I skipped it. I flew over that crap and went to New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado. But when I went out there, I saw a dinosaur laying on the ground. And I said, no one has touched this. And I'll be damned if I'm going to desecrate it. So what I did is I made a road, and you can see where I drive on Google Earth. You can see where you drive because those tracks from General Patton training out in Blythe, California in the 40s, they're still there today. So be careful where you drive in the desert. So I made one area to drive. I made one area to shoot and blow stuff up. And the rest of that, you got to walk it. I got a buddy of mine. He goes, I'd have a trail over here and a trail over there. And I'm like, nope. We're going to walk it, you know? And it does something to you. And when you sit still, it takes, 20, 30 minutes. You calm down, you're clearing your head, and you're just present with the wind blowing and the dove cooing. And a dove, if you were in prison, but you could hear a dove cooing outside, oh, you're good. You can go anywhere you want. That is so peaceful. And that's where I get things straight. I got a lot of things in my life falling through, and stuff doesn't work, and things that I'm just real shortcoming on, and some I've succeeded, and you kind of look at it for what it is. Don't worry about the ego here and there. And you just put it together, and you think about, okay, what's my next step to keep going the direction I want to go? And it's funny how it just whispers to you. And then you almost feel like it's time to get up and go. Mm-hmm. It's the most gentle thing. It sounds hippie as hell, and that's one reason I like hot springs. I like to go to hot springs and relax and talk.
I think we come from nature, and when we reattune to nature, it doesn't sound hippie at all. I mean, it makes sense.
It's just you.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that we are banned? I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I said, you realize if you got butt-ass naked the way you were born and came into this earth and walked down the street, you'd be arrested.
Yeah.
That's so weird, right?
But that's what you are, literally. You have to cover this up to be legal.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny, man, because and a lot of people they can't break the sexuality away from it, and it's such a shame because sex is a function like anything else, and it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing.
It's not just humans; it's all of nature.
Everything,
Yeah.
but it's not everything. Walking naked in the sunshine is not sexual to me at all.
No.
But damn, does it feel good.
It's just natural. It's just leftover Puritan crap from when religion and state were so interconnected, which they still kind of are. But when it was ran by religion and nudity was seen as lewd, then you got to cover you up. It's indecent.
And to be fair, a lot of the people that you see nude, it's sexually branded.
Yeah,
you know,
well, that's
so when
why
you
we
see it,
the nude.
That's what it is. It's sexually branded. But it would be nice to see, like, you're not illegal without your clothes. I'm not saying I'm going to go walk to Walmart, my wiener hanging out. Yeah, but
you would. Is what you're saying. You would.
Well,
with his tummy, guys.
I guess in
just open carrying with your wiener out.
You know, I don't know. In another world, it would be nice. Yeah, but it would never be perceived that way. So no.
I mean, when you're out there, I imagine once you spent 3-4 days out on that land, and then you get naked, like with people that are with you, it's probably not weird at all because it would just make sense. And it definitely, at that point, like if you're hanging out, you know, in the city and you do it, and you're like, "Hey guys, come in my backyard and we're gonna cold plunge in my bathtub."
Well, it's
naked.
true.
So like, what is this guy doing?
Now it's getting good.
Yeah, now it's good. I've spent a week in nature naked, and it was amazing.
A week?
Yeah, and you're free, right?
Yeah.
And when you come back to society and put clothes on, that is the most foreign feeling in the world. And to your point, it is like, what is unnatural about this? Why am I having to put on this denim? What the fuck is denim for? Yeah,
right.
Clothes are protection. What am I protecting myself from? It's 70 degrees today. Yeah. There's no reason to put on clothes. Protecting myself from people seeing my dick? Who cares?
Yeah.
It's not hard. Relax.
No, yeah. And well, in the desert, you know, there are thorns.
That's true.
I want to keep it from that. But I don't know. It's for the record, if you come out to a retreat at our camp, I ain't gonna step out butt naked. I'm not getting naked on you. It's not the ladies' retreat. It's just
welcome to the ladies' retreat. My name's Matt.
I'm not gonna be naked. Okay. Damn. Well, the cat's gonna call me up. You son of a bitch, and they all backed out.
You scared them all off.
Scared them off.
But you'll have a couple stragglers that stay.
Yeah, maybe so. No, there's people that get it. You know, I collect really cool people in my life, like Kelly's Heroes. You know, these oddballs. One day I had somebody reach out. We run a campground down at our Kelly's Corner, we call it, down at the creek. And it's definitely a hippie scene. It's got the wood burning hot tub. It's got the pizza oven built Western style with the earth, and it's got a tree house. And when you go past that bamboo fence, I ain't coming down there. So do what you want, you know. Many times I've gone to get somebody to sign the release, and they show up butt-ass naked. Well, eyes only, right? But anyway, one day I get this inquiry. Guy goes, "Hey, is it private down there?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's private." That dude must have asked me 4 or 5 times if it was private.
What's he doing down there?
Exactly. And I said, "Look, man, what do you want to do?" He said, "Look, I'm going to level with you. I'm a photographer, and I'm bringing out a fairly well-known nude model, and we just don't want people sneaking in on it." I said, "Brother, I'm the closest one, and I'm half a mile away." I said, "So don't worry about it." I said, "However, I'm a huge fan of the arts, so let me open the whole entire property to you, and you do what you want." So he shows up. The model gets there. She's from Canada. She comes in my lab, and she sees my rocks, so I was working with some plants at the time, and she was all into it. She goes, "We got to talk more. I'm here to work. I'll be back in touch," right? You just know sometimes that ain't the last time you're going to see somebody. Mm-hmm. So she goes, they do their thing, they leave. And, you know, it's funny because we all took the kids to a soccer game, and we're driving back in the van, and I could see her butt-ass naked in a pecan tree down there. and the kids were just like, "Well, it's Dad, you know, it's just Dad's got funny for him out here." And so anyway, about a year later, she reached out to me. She says, "Hey, I'm dating a guy in Houston, and I've booked some photo shoots, and I want to use your farm. And these photographers will come out, and they'll pay you, and they'll do the photography shoot, but my boyfriend and I want to stay in your treehouse." I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course." She comes out. I get the flowers and everything ready because it's kind of a romantic thing. So I'm going to put on the dog for him. I got everything ready, firewood, the whole bit. I take him down there. I'm showing him around, and I noticed that this guy walks off. And I'm telling you where the bathroom is, you know, where to go, and he just leaves, and it's just me and her talking. I'm like, okay, whatever. So anyway, I explain everything to him. I leave. Well, going to eat my dinner, and about 20 minutes, I look, and I got a message on my phone. It says, what are you doing? You know, I want to bring him up and show him the shop and everything. And then I'd missed that message. And the next one says, hey, it's getting late. We're just going to go to bed, catch you tomorrow. Cool. Good night. Next morning, I get up about 6 a.m., go to my lab. I'm going to do my exercises. And I see this guy's car fly by. And I'm like, damn, he's in a hurry to get some donuts. I figured he's going to town to get some breakfast, you know. So I work out, get my day started, checking my emails. My employees come in, and my employee, he runs down to the range, and he calls me. He goes, hey, there's something weird down here. He goes, the gate's open. There's like a bag on the ground with some stuff scattered. And he's like, you know, what's going on? I said, man, that's pretty odd. I'm like, they've had like 4 hours now to come back. So I drive down there, and it looked like somebody left in a hurry. But I don't have any messages saying something was wrong. So I go down there and knock on that tree house. Down at the bottom, I didn't go up to the top. And she comes to the door, clothed, and she says, oh, did you see that? I'm like, well, yeah, I saw him leave, but what you mean? She goes, he left. I'll never see him again. I said, well, now, keep in mind, she's from Canada. She flew here. She got a week, and then she got to get back to Canada. And that dude was her ride. And I said, well, what do you mean? You ain't going to see him again? I said, he went to get breakfast, didn't he? She goes, no, we broke up. I said, so you're just in my treehouse for how long?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I got a week here. I said, no, you're going to move into the lab. You're going to be part of the family, you know? And she said that he told her the energy was very strong there. And he accused her of like wanting to, you know, walk up and see me up at the house or something. She's like, no, I'm going to take a piss, you know? And his dog was always following her, and he got upset about that. And there's nothing between me and this girl. Yeah. She's really cool. She's a nude model, but I actually made it a point. I've never seen her other than far, far away. But if I knew she was doing something, I didn't go there. Yeah. You know, she was in the outdoor shower one time and needed towels and stuff, and I just set it by the thing and walked away. You know, I just, you know, not doing it. Well, anyway, for a week, we became good buddies. You know, she told me her whole story, everything she'd been through, and how she was progressing and her goals, and she's a very spiritual person. And she said, I do this thing where if you lay down, it's not Reiki. She goes, but your body will talk to me. And I said, you know, to tell you the truth, I have that spina bifida issue, and my bowels don't move like they should. It's kind of embarrassing. I can't feel my ass. And I'll be talking to a bunch of ladies one day, and I'll fart right in front of them. And it's so damn embarrassing, but I can't feel it. It just sucks. And I can't feel sometimes when I got to go to the bathroom. Number 2. And that's embarrassing. And I told her, I said, I got issues with this. And she said, well, lay down. So I lay down, and I played the game. I'm open. I'm not going to be a skeptic. What the hell do I know? I've only been here 44 years, and I learn something every day. So I don't know. So she starts putting her hand on my chest and my stomach, and she goes, it wants attention. And then she starts talking to my organs. And she's like, now you need to talk to them. Now, I don't know what she did. But for the next 2 months, I could go to the bathroom normal. Everything flowed.
Wow.
Like it should. That is the truth. Now, it slowed down after that, and probably ought to have that done again. But the people you meet running an Airbnb is phenomenal. And I don't know how we even got off on that, but that's a cool story.
I just love how open-minded you are. To letting people just run with what they're good at and just kind of backing them, and then just being open to like an experience like that. You're just open to everything.
Well, I'm not so open that my brain falls out on the floor. I mean, I have logic, and I have my gut, and I listen to my gut. Somebody was asking, are you logic or are you feeling? I work off feeling a lot. A lot of people would say that's not good. But I'm not talking about the airy-fairy feeling. I'm talking about that gut that knows the truths, that knows the patterns and the systems of the world. It's ingrained in my DNA, probably from generations. It has DNA memory. I listen to that because it speaks through people and beyond their words, and you can feel things. And I try to shift it that way. I got stung a few times. But, yeah, I'm open. I mean, come at me with something. Just because you believe something I don't believe is no reason for me to be rude to you. no reason for me to not listen to you. Let's have a great conversation. And you tell me your whole thing. And I'm not even going to have an argument and try to win you even. I'm going to dig into why you believe it. I'm going to ask, well, and I may hear something and be like, well, I don't believe that because of this, but I don't need to bring that up right now. You know what I'm learning at 44 that's a superpower, and you guys are doing it, is the listening, the ability to listen. And it is a very dynamic thing. And I'll just say it again for the podcast, even though I told you earlier. I looked around at reality, and you have 2 ears, 2 nostrils, you got 2 hands, you got 2 eyes, and 2 feet. You got 1 mouth. You got a pee hole and a poop hole, but that's for getting rid of the crap, right? But if you look at that system, you were designed to listen and do twice as much as you speak. And I don't think that's by accident. We have an amazing processor between these 2 ears. It's phenomenal. But if you don't load it with information, if you don't give it the time to receive, what comes out really ain't worth much. And so I used to run my mouth a lot when I was younger. But now I try to listen. And having my friend Beth, you met Beth. Beth loves to talk. And she's got stuff to say. But when we first became buddies, we were chatterboxes. And most people are like croaking frogs. And you're just waiting for you to shut up so I can say what I want to say. But when you calm it down and you just let somebody talk, they tell you more than what they're saying. They're telling your hopes, dreams, fears, direction, where they're going, where they've been. They're telling you a lot of stuff that you start to soak like a sponge. And you don't need to respond. And the final frontier is and has always been within. It's not space. It ain't some western horizon. Even though I love to go to both of them. That'd be cool. But the true final frontier is within. It's always been that way. I think the ancients knew that. They went in. They spent a lot of time going in, right? So when you're quiet and you don't need to respond, that's when you start to grow. And that's to the point we were talking about haters and hateful comments you get on social media. Those people aren't even aware to shut up and listen. They're reactive. They're reactive. They're reactive over garbage. Let's say I did say something stupid. You know, when a camera's on you, you make mistakes. I could be telling you about the clothes I'm wearing, but a camera's running. There's a little pressure, and I call them breeches or pants or shorts or whatever. I screw it up. Some comment, oh, you're so stupid. Really? Like, and this message is to them. It's a good thing you're out there because you are the grit that sharpens the blade. Okay? So kudos to you. But the message to you would be quiet. Let the idiots, let me be the idiot. Let idiots be idiots and observe. And then reflect on yourself and see the idiocy in yourself and allow other people to sharpen that blade. And it's very coarse in the beginning, and it does not feel good. It's not comfortable. But in time, you will say more with less. And when you say something, it has the weight of experience with observation. Now you have a gift to give back. But until that, you're just a clanging gong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel like when we make these episodes. I just know there's plenty of times I fuck it up. I can like feel it.
You feel it right then.
Oh yeah, like, and I just keep moving forward, right? And we get funny ass comments sometimes, right? And we just rip on them a little bit, but I don't even, like you said, I know where I'm going, and I'm just gonna fucking go forward. And there's gonna be all kinds of criticisms and people saying stuff, and it's like, sure.
Yeah. The only way forward is messy.
Yeah.
You try to perfect the path forward, you're not going to go anywhere. Yeah. You gotta have a sloppy copy, a first draft. You gotta just fall forward. That's how babies learn to walk, right? It's not like they just can't walk and then one day they walk. They get up and they fall on their face, and then the next time they fall on their face again, and then the next time, instead of falling on their face, they put one foot in front of it, and they're like, oh, cool, I didn't fall on my face. But then they fall on their face. Yeah, exactly. And then they finally do that enough times, they figure out, oh, I can put a foot in front of the other one. And that's the same philosophy. You just got to fuck it up a lot.
That's the perfect analogy. And I've used that one before, because what do babies do when they fall down?
Laugh.
And to get back up.
Yeah.
There is no ego that they're worried about. And that's what we've gotten away from.
They don't care what they look like.
No, you have a goal and you're working on something and you were so locked in that all these comments, all this crap floating around is just chatter. It's just dust in the wind, because you're headed to something. And you know, I listened to Jordan Peterson said something about being the fool today, the master tomorrow. And I take encouragement from that, because everything comes with a price. And just know that if you feel like you've been paying the dues, there's the other side of that. It's like today this coin drops and you are the clown, you're the fool. But the laws of nature dictate that if you're doing that, the other side of that is tomorrow's master. And that's something to take encouragement in.
Totally.
Yeah, you're never going to be a master unless you're willing to be a fool in the beginning. There's no way you're going to come right out of the gate and do it well.
Yeah, and that needs to be told to our youth.
Yeah.
Like, kids need to know that. I have seen it many times where a young kid is wanting to do something and they don't have direction, so they just lock onto the success of this person, the success of that person. Oh, I want to be a brain surgeon. Oh, I want to be a pilot. Oh, I want to be an explosives guy. It's like, calm down. All those trees took hundreds of years to grow from that seed. Why do you think you're any different? Calm down and enjoy today the growth that you have to put in it, and one day you will be. And you have to give up this fantasy land of being all these things and choose something that really aligns with you, and water it and fertilize it and grow in that direction, because I've seen what they become when they don't. And it's not pretty. It's grown men who've missed the ship and they're floundering at sea. And are they still salvageable? I would say yes. But they have to completely humble themselves and acknowledge that they missed the ship. If they admit that up until now it's a pile of dog shit, but from here on out I can begin to grow, and I think they would rapidly catch up because they're adults at this point. But when they just, oh, you're this, I'm going to be that. Oh, I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that. And then they try to get on Instagram and show the flashy, fancy things and show this persona of somebody that's made it. You're not watering that tree. You're just trying to get that quick bush right there that withers quickly. I'll tell you one thing I kind of hesitate on. I don't ever want to come across, and if I've come across this way, I just know that I don't like that I come across this way. But I have a cool car. I got an army tank. Bought my wife an airplane. Got a ranch, okay? Those things do not make me who I am. And I do not count them as my identity. These firearms, they're cool. Hands down, love them, think it's great. I don't worship them. They're just things. I don't think that I'm a better man because I got a big gun. I don't think that having a gun makes me some badass. What makes you quality are the quality of your thoughts, the internal side to yourself. So that's the encouragement that I would put out there to young people growing up. Don't think that these things are ever going to make you. They're going to be the fruit. They're going to be the signs that you're moving somewhere. But if you make them your God, if you make them your goal, they're going to leave you hollow, cold, empty, and lost. And I don't ever want to come across as flinging like, first of all, let's be honest. Elon Musk is putting people in space and building badass rocket ships, okay? So the bar's been set for somebody that does some pretty bling-bling stuff, okay? He put a car in space. So me driving around in my little kit car Cobra ain't really a flex compared to him. Well, if I'm not trumping him, I ain't trumping nobody. So the car's cool, and I want to share it with my friends because I like it. I enjoy to drive it, but it's not a status symbol. It's just it's a cool story. It's a fun car. That's all it is.
You know, one thing that was a pleasant surprise about coming here today was, you know, you have your preconceived notions of what's going to happen, and you have an idea. It's like, cool, we're going to go see the explosions guy. We're going to blow stuff up. We're going to shoot guns. And they're like, hey, like, you know, even driving a tank, super fun. And that's all the surface level excitement stuff that we got to do, and it makes for great videos and great content. But the really pleasant surprise that I did not anticipate today was how philosophical the day became, and the level of wisdom that you carry. You know, it's easy to think, oh, he's a redneck shooting guns out in the in the Texas sun, right? But there's so much depth to you as well in terms of the stories you have, the wisdom you carry, and most importantly, the way you're able to articulate it in such a clear and direct way. That I just want to give you kudos for that, because that was an unexpected thing today that I'm actually taking away a lot more from that than getting to ride in a tank.
I appreciate that. And in my head, it's kind of a spaghetti mess. So I'm glad you understand what I'm saying. I was like, damn it, I hope this is getting out. But thank you.
Super inspiring. Like the way, exactly what you're saying, Tony. Like the way you lived, the pieces between actually doing, shooting guns and blowing stuff up, your life philosophy and listening to poetry in the morning, why that's important to you, reading and working out first thing in the morning, and the deep reasons why you're doing that, seeing how your families are running around, kids are, coming in and showing us the cool shit they built and whatnot. And it's like that was gold. And hopefully, if people are listening to this, we've created a vlog of us filming throughout the day, and you can hopefully feel some of that. Right. And so, I hope people can feel that experience that Tony was able to experience and that we were able to experience as well.
I'm glad you felt that. I really am, because I don't, this is the unknown adventure. I don't have the words. A good friend of mine put it one way. He said, when Matt talks, I don't know what he said, but I know what he meant. And it's because we communicate far more with something that is unspoken. You can feel it. I don't know what it is, but I know it's real. And when I started going to hot springs the first time, the water, Lord, it was loaded with lithium. And if we just put lithium in the water and everybody's drinking water, the crime would fall through the floor. I don't know why we don't. We need to put lithium in the drinking water.
Why?
You don't know about lithium?
No.
Well, I'll be dang.
Give us a lithium masterclass.
This is a fun guy podcast, right? So you guys should know about lithium. I didn't know either. Tonopah Hot Springs, Tonopah, Arizona. Little backwater side thing on Interstate 10. You drive right by and never notice it, except there's a bunch of bamboo growing in the bald-ass desert. And the reason that bamboo's growing there is there's a natural hot spring flowing up. And they got an area in there where not only is it clothing optional, but you can't wear clothes. It's banned. You go naked. And it was my first one, and I wasn't used to that. What's that?
Camera, maybe.
Oh. So I didn't know what to expect. And this old hippie guy, he's like, just nobody allows clothes in here. And I'm like, good Lord, eyes only, right? So I go in there, I sit in this water, and it feels amazing. It makes your skin feel soft. But after about 30, 40 minutes, you notice something. The chatter in your head gets quiet. You hear the birds. You notice the wind. You're not thinking anymore about work and problems and things, right? You're just calming down. Now, I didn't know what was happening. Well, I ended up spending about 12 hours in that water. And I don't have enough time. We'll do another podcast on this, because there's all kind of naked people coming and going and talking to me. Mm-hmm. And I mean every walk of life. And I saw it all. And I was very calm by the end of that, to the point that I got out and I drove into the desert and I found a little hill out there and there was a cave. And I crawled up in there and I got on my phone and I called up people I hadn't talked to in a long time. And I just said, hey, how you doing? I ain't heard from you in a while. You good? Just want you to know I love you. And they're like laughing, They're like, well, I'm good. Sounds like you're doing good. And I thought it was funny because in that cave were pockmarks from 20 millimeter rounds when the military trained out there in World War II. So even in that serene setting was the evidence of training for the other side of humanity, right? So it's always present. So then I went back to the hot spring, and I got back in the water, and I didn't plan on spending the night, but it was getting late, and I'm going to spend the night. So I thought I was going to sleep in my truck. And this hippie dude, he says, hey, man, he said, here's a blanket. You can sleep on that bench over there. So he gives me this blanket. I roll up like a burrito in it. Well, about 4 or 5 in the morning, some hippie dude comes up and grabs that blanket and rolls me out like a burrito and takes the damn blanket. I mean, violently. What an asshole. So now I'm sitting here, and it's in the desert in October, so I'm just shivering. Well, what are you going to do? I go back in the water, sit in the hot water. Then the cleaning crew comes in about 6 o'clock and they drain the tubs. So I got to play musical tubs while they're scrubbing them. I get back in, and then the day starts and more people start coming. And I spent until 2, 3 o'clock that next day. And I got so damn high. My life changed, completely changed. And I went and looked it up, and it was the lithium. Your skin is one of your biggest organ, I guess your biggest organ, and it will absorb a little bit of that lithium. And I started doing some research, and lithium is used in patients with schizophrenia, something, I'm not really sure what it is. There's violent tendencies and stuff. They use it to calm them down. And you can take it internally to a certain point. I think you can OD on it. But I was getting some of it in my system through this. And I'm already a non-violent guy. But the way I described it was a traffic cop gets in your head and brings this thought in. You have that thought. He blows the whistle. And the next thought comes in. You have that thought. And you get your next thought. And they're all lined up. And they function. There's not all this crap at once. Wow. It's lined up. And so when I built my little hippie campground down there, I got some lithium carbonate, and I added a little bit to the water for the campers so they can have the lithium experience, But then I started researching, and around the country, places that have high lithium content in their drinking water, it's found in the ground. Their crime is to the floor.
Wow.
It's almost non-existent.
What's Austin's lithium numbers?
I don't know.
I'm curious.
It's that would be a good question. It's typically more out west than
Okay.
east. It's going to be where you have a lot of geologic activity.
Okay.
Bringing those minerals up close and those thermal springs. I don't know. I think in out west Texas, some water comes up in my neighbor's well about 120 degrees. It's hot. And they had lithium, and it was so much that they were having trouble with the animals. It was too much.
Animals were too chilled.
Too chill, or maybe they were having birth defects or something. Like drinking it, that quantity is not a good thing, but soaking in it, you're not going to get enough to have an OD on it. It's just enough to chill you out.
So we should replace the fluoride in the drinking water with lithium.
We definitely need some lithium. Yeah, yeah, and probably getting the fluoride out. And fluoride, that's one of them double-edged swords. It's done good things, but also, it's rat poison, you know. Lithium is, I think, a good thing.
It's interesting. I'll have to look into that more because I briefly saw an article I came across that they were talking about that for people who are developing like Alzheimer's that they're recently starting to study. So I think you're onto something. And I'd be curious, what is happening and to what amounts you can bring into your body and soaking in it, like what it's doing.
I don't think you can soak so much that you get too much lithium. I think I read somewhere where you're not going to soak that much in. But after about 20 to 30 minutes of soaking in it, you start to feel that relaxed effect. And if you do what I did, I mean, hell, freaking
2 days
in water, I'm still high from it. I'm just chill. I say it changed my life. I bought the Hot Springs book there. And I really love to go on a hot spring trip where I go out to Arizona, New Mexico, and you'll see a little dot, and it's a treasure hunt. It literally says, start at this trail, hike 8 miles. You'll see this red rock, turn left there, go 100 feet down by the river and look for steam. And you go find them in nature, and it looks like Disney set it up. There's a hole in a rock that Moses poked, and there's just a stream of water coming out, and the hippies built a little rock pool right there, and you sit there and soak in it. And it's very therapeutic.
And this is a book that you can buy that'll guide you to these places?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's there's so many books. The one I bought was Hot Springs and Pools of the Southwest, and then they have one of the Northwest. I went to some in Alaska, and they're in Hawaii. They're all around the world, anywhere. Cool. And see, my background's chemistry, explosives. But chemistry's broad. And when I started getting into this stuff, I really started falling in love with geology. And coming at geology from a chemistry standpoint, you understand these processes, and it's so much more fascinating. It's quite a little mind adventure.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Speaking of adventure, today was a massive adventure. And ending it with a podcast, I think, was the right move.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for having us out here. I mean, this was an incredible day, and I'll be processing a lot of this, I think, for days and weeks to come. And I hope people that are listening to this and watching, I mean, I want to keep recording with you, but I want to also be respectful. We'll definitely have to come back. I think we need to just go to West Texas and then do it out there.
Yep.
100%.
We'll spend some time out there, and maybe on the last day when we're like fresh and whatnot, we can just let it rip again.
I'll tell you what will be awesome. Bring your gear. We'll go to that flat desert area out there. You're going to need a generator, a battery pack, or something. Very often, there are lights out there in the sky you cannot explain. I've captured them with time-lapse photography, and all the stars behind them look just great. But that thing, that orb, is a combination of like 5 different colored lights spinning. I'm not drunk. I'm not high. I'm not crazy. And many people see them at our retreat. It's almost just like, there they are again. We go to that back desert area. It already looks like a lunar landscape. Mm-hmm. So you have this really cool thing in the golden hour. The sun's going down. We're set up with tables and our gear. And we conduct the podcast out there. And then if those things show up, capture them.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
I love it.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you so much for having us out to your
you.
property today, taking us around, giving us the tour, sitting down and talking with us and sharing your story and your philosophy with us. And I can't wait for episode 2 and round 2.
Okay. Well, I love it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
And before we go, what are all the ways people can come hang out with you, connect, come out to the ranch, your Airbnbs, just...
So the ranch would be portosolranch.com.
Okay.
How do you spell that?
It's Brazilian. It's Pordosol, portosolranch.com. You go to my Instagram, Matt Explodes Stuff, and you can look, and there's links to all of this. And, I'm not running like Christmas specials on Dynamite or anything, so I really don't have that for the general public.
Yeah.
But we are having a career day class. It's December 19th through December 20th. And Ballistic High Speed is going to be there. These guys are well known on YouTube. I think 1 million+ followers. They're coming out with these awesome cameras. They're going to be there where we teach about the rules and regulations, the do's and don'ts of the explosive industry. We're going to give demonstrations of products used in the various industries. And if you want to sign up for that, go to Matt Explodes Stuff and send me a message if you can't find it. But my manager, Lauren, should have it up there. There's a link of an Eventbrite. You can book a ticket. We're only accepting 15 people. And it's going to be a great time. On Friday, you come out. We're going to find out what your interests are. And on Saturday, we're going to cater the class to you. And you're going to get to meet the Ballistic High Speed guys. And then they're going to stay a couple days after, and we're going to get some really cool footage.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. All right, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
All right. That's a wrap.
We
huh?
did it.
Yeah.
That's a wrap, my friend.